So let's go to the cards themselves. There is a, let's turn this over for a second. Let me zoom in. So this is the backing, and this is, you know, here for a specific reason. Let me see if I can find it here. He does talk about the back of the card. Yeah, many of the pictures are made up of elements drawn from Celtic artifacts that have survived, so some of them in which you might recognize as you go along. But there is a section where he talks about the back of the card. Here we go. The image on the back of the cards derives from one of the many sun-star symbols carved into the stones of Newgrange in Ireland. Newgrange is a center of a complex of Neolithic temples and sacred sites in the Boyne Valley. Though not built by the Celts, it was almost certainly used by them for religious ceremonies. Shamanic initiations also took place in the Brugge itself, and there is evidence to suggest that it was also used as a kind of sweat lodge in which vision seekers slept in darkness and heat to discover wisdom. The image of the sun with all its multi-layered symbolism seemed most appropriate for the card back, and it bears the qualities of light, inspiration, the gods, and the seasons, all of which are important aspects of the shaman's way. So again, there's specific reason for many of the images that are used, including the one on the back. You can see it's not reversible, but this is not a deck in which you really use reverses. Wasn't creative with that intention. Okay, so let's zoom in here. You can see how that's kind of bent up, but again, I'm cutting it off, so that's okay. So this is again the Tree of Vision, which we talked about and we already read about, kind of stands on its own. And then the next three cards are the cards of the shaman themselves. So this first one is the Vision Singer, which represents the bardic heritage of the Celtic shaman, the power to wield words and to submit to the power of word. The Walker Between the Worlds. Now this is definitely, you probably, if you look at, have seen a lot of Celtic artifacts or art, you will see, have seen some version of these kind of triple faces. And so he does even talk about, and just the number 3. The number 3 is my number, and it's also my number, my life path number is 7, and then what is left to make up to make me be a complete human being, what's left is 3. I was really excited when I saw that in a numerology book recently. So, but 3 has always been my number since I was in grade school that I can remember, obviously probably before then. And then the Celtic people, the number 3 is just used, and there are 3 sets of everything, right? So the idea of the triad is really, really strong in Celtic lore and other lore as well. I'm just most familiar with lore, Celtic lore. But this is the Walker. This is the seeker after wisdom that possesses all. The importance of this is this represents the way that the shaman can see within and without, but is able to pull those together into a visionary truth, is able to come back and say them in a way in which somebody can understand, which goes also with the way of the words as well. But there is a power to the 3 face and the Walker Between the Worlds, or as I have always called it, the walking of the wall. And then we have the WILDMAN, and this is that idea that many people who walk the wall and many people who see more than what everybody might see on average or has trained out of themselves to see can be accused of being a little bit crazy or a lot crazy, or can be accused of if you grow up in a religious household, be accused of, consorting with demons and devils and that type of thing. So it's that idea of crazy wisdom, and you see this in a lot of cultures, a lot of in North American, Indian, Native Americans. You will often see that idea of respect and being careful around what they would consider crazy people. So that idea of crazy wisdom and that ability to tap into that is another part of the shaman. And then these are people in which may be helpers along a shamanic journey. The ferryman is really something you see in a lot of Celtic lore. He is guiding the voyager across the water to the other world. He doesn't talk a lot, but has a lot of information to impart. And so it goes on and talks about, again, amazing, just bits about the lore in which you might find the ferryman, who is all about the passage. Here we have the Woodward, which is also in the Wildwood Tarot. He's the Lord of the Beasts. He commands the totem and the power animals. So he is that connection with the creatures, helps with the connection with creatures. We have the Lady of Ways. You see a lot of this imagery as well in, oops, and they're not in order, so obviously I'm not going to find it, but you see the kind of deer, walking deer people in the both the Wildwood Tarot as well as obviously Greenwood, which is, you know, the same deck, just different artists. And so here we have the Lady of the Ways. She is all about the journey. She guards the roadways and the pathways between the world. She is an empowerer, opens the dream pathways that we can pass. When seeking to know which of the inner worlds to visit, she can give you advice. Here we have the Bride of the Waters. She is the guardian of the waters, and it has to do with the emotions here. Very gorgeous. Here we have the Druid as a helper. This would be representative Gwydion. This is the magical power in the Celtic world, the power to shapeshift, to move the unseen, to swift travel, create illusion. It says that this is one of the wild cards of the inner world, acting according to its own unknowable whims. You can see there's lots of different ways it can go, but that idea of shape-shifting, it's the power inherent in the staff of the Druid. I love that. Here's the Keeper of the Wheel. This is an insignia I have, not this exact one, but a triad like that I have on my ankle. Attached to one of the tattoos that I have. This is the idea of faith, the idea of the wheel. The keeper of the wheel holds the tides of fate in his hands, turning them according to a pattern only he and the shaper knows. Here we have the seeress. Look at that. That's beautiful. Look at, see, we have the little wrens, which are druid birds. A female figure watches the horse-like spirits who surround her. Between her hands is the golden spindle. Her visionary powers are remarkable, and she can advise on the best course of action. So she's the prophecy, the idea of prophecy. Here we have the beautiful woman made of flowers. It has a little bit of a Asian feel to just the coloration, and it's beautiful. The woman made of flowers is about transformation. She can change her own form, but has a deep awareness of natural forces. She can also open the way to our own true nature. But how beautiful is that? I really like that card, the look of that card. Here we have the Keeper of the Letters. This is about the idea of learning and the written word, and this to open, Agma, who opened the path to spirit letters, the voice of the sacred wood. Beautiful. And those are the helpers. And then we come to the three circles of the world. So we have the firmament, which is the sky. This is the first circle, or also known as the upper world. The second circle is the circle of 9 and represents the middle world, in which we exist, as well as certain other spiritual beings, again, such as fake energy and animal energy, as well as some ancestral teachers, although I think mostly that's more in the in-world with the idea of the ancestors. The third circle is also called Anwen, or the inner world. This is the abode of the ancestors and the primary source of wisdom. This is tapping into the collective unconscious for me. So then we get to the 4 element cards. So again, we have the Mound for the empowerment of earth. We have the colors of the wind for the empowerment of air. Beautiful card. We have the green and burning tree for the empowerment of fire. The green and burning tree has long been recognized as representing the fiery inspiration or awen of the poet, which burns but does not consume. It also relates to the Celtic preoccupation with boundaries, liminal places between one world and another, such as walking the wall, such as the seashore, edges of lakes, twilight, and dawn. So yes, that represents fire. And then we have the well here representing the empowerment of water. This is about the well of wisdom here. And then we get to the animal totems and what those might represent. It gives both the keyword for it as well as the Gaelic name for it. So this would be salmon for wisdom. Here we have the stag for strength. Beautiful image. We have the crane, which is so beautiful, for the idea of lore. And it does, in the lore, it does talk about the how Finn McCool makes his crane bag. We have the owl here for transformation. It does talk about how the owl is actually a bit of an ill omen among the Celtic people, but it is also can be associated with wisdom, as we see in the idea of transformation. Here we have, of course, my lovely crow, which is for the idea of change. We have the sweet otter, which is another of my favorite animals, which is for protection, which is interesting because I always think of them as more that sort of playfulness, but they also represent protection. Here we have the hound, which is for tenacity, tenacious, loving, faithful, playful, energetic companion on every level, it talks about. The Celtic dog of the other world, white body but often with red ears, hunts across both landscapes of the world within and the world without. It has great staying power, and its playful nature makes it a wise and gentle companion. And you can see there's some like Celtic knotwork dogs because you as well around it. Here we have the beautiful eagle. This is for sight. The boar, which I would have thought would have been for strength, but this is for power. And because the boar is very similar to, say, like a bear or something. It's a very powerful creature that you would have had and definitely see show up a lot in Celtic folklore and stories. We have the horse, and this would be for sureness, sureness of foot. And then the cow, of course, we would have to have, and this is for the idea of plenty or abundance. And that is the totem animals. Again, he recommends making some more cards up depending on what are important to you. And then it goes into the different faces of the shaper. And so we have the father, which is keyword of energy, the mother with the keyword of conception. The energy of the mother is balanced by that of the father. Her strength is giving, powerful, caring. So you again have that sort of yang and yin energy there that you're looking at. We have the sun, which is about beginnings. We have the beautiful maiden here, which is about innocence, the new, what is fresh and new within us. We have the beautiful lady of the sacred earth, which is about endurance. The keyword is endurance. We have the Lord of the Sea for passion. Love that. We have the Lady of the Moon and Stars. How gorgeous is she? She's about perception. We have the Lord of the Underworld. Also, you'd think of him as the Lord of the Hunt, at least in that picture. You would certainly think of him as the Lord of the Hunt. But this one is about unpredictability. Sorry, the video cut out, and I needed to come back and do it. But the keyword is unpredictability. And then the last one is Lady of the Cauldron, which is Caradwin. Sorry. And this is, the keyword for this is inspiration, rebirth, opening the doors to the inner consciousness, these types of things. And so that is all of the cards. Now I have already, because, you know, the cut out, I didn't realize that it cut that off. But I had started to trim them already so that you can see the backs. Obviously I took off all of the color from the backing of them, and then of course you can see the fronts. Again, a lot of the spreads, as you might have seen, can be quite large, and so anything you can do to make them a little bit smaller, I think, is helpful. Plus, I just didn't want all the colors on the back, and so here's a 3 card and a 3 card. So you can see them. It's not that the white borders are terrible, but to me that just richens up the color. And again, anything that can be smaller is going to be helpful, especially if you think about the beautiful doing like, again, I have to unbend these, but I need to put something heavy on them. This happens when you put a thin cardstock and then you put laminate on them, or a contact paper. It kind of pulls it in weird ways, as you can see that this has done. But let's just randomly pull a card or 2 cards and have the earth element and the Lady of the Ways. And you could actually do, you know, a 4 card on either side, as I do with tarot sometimes. I'll have the tarot in the middle and the 4 on the side. And that would be an interesting thing. Obviously, these are all the same artist. And so, yeah, I obviously could have left the white, but I already said why I decided to take the white off. And I'm quite happy with how they turned out. So there we have it. Let me finish trimming these down, and then I will come back and do a reading from out of the book. Okay, I am back, and I have trimmed the deck all up. Here it is in its bag, which is quite lovely. It looks almost black, but it's actually a blue, which you can see with the cord a little bit more. But I do really, really love this bag for this particular deck. So here we have the trimmed backs, looking quite lovely, and here we have all of the trimmed fronts. Yes, I am very happy with it. Size-wise, we have, this is a Los Scarabeo deck, so they're a little skinnier than a normal. We can see it's a little bit shorter, and almost exactly the same size. It's maybe a hair wider, like they don't feel exact, but they are pretty, I mean, it's literally a hair wider. So it's about the size of a Los Scarabeo, just a little bit shorter. So it's actually a really nice size, very kind of a nice size of a tarot deck. So for example, this would be a bridge size card, and it's wider and taller, as it should be. So yeah, really lovely size. I'm quite happy with how it turned out. It shuffles really nice. I would not say that this is like fantastic cardstock, but I will say that even trimmed, you know, sometimes when you trim a deck, you lose a shuffleability. This is quite thin cardstock, quite a little bit cardboardy. You know, nothing great here in terms of the cardstock, but it feels nice. It's like not glossy. It's got kind of a sheen to it, but it feels kind of matte. I actually quite like the feel of it. Again, you know, it's not fantastic cardstock at all, but I quite like it. It overhand shuffles well, and it rifle shuffles well, even trimmed. And that's a nice riffle shuffle for a trimmed deck. So I'm happy with that. And it overhand shuffles really nice as well. A, it's a great size, and B, it swishes. So I'm actually satisfied with the cardstock. I paid $15 for this deck, and obviously retail is, I think, $20 or $21, but I paid $15, and I think between the book and the cards, well worth that. So let's take a look at one of the readings. I'm going to do the Shaman's Path spread. And the purpose of this, it gives an example, like, and you get this question a lot with readings, right? The seeker felt she had reached an impasse in her spiritual path. She asked for guidance about its future direction and the aims she should follow. So I quite like the concept of this is kind of giving you a path forward with 7 cards. So I can't obviously do it in a row like this, but I'm going to do it a different way, which I will show you in a second here. Let's move this out of the way. I don't know how I got these whopper jawed. So Alright, so the first position here, I'm trying to hold this open and do it. The first position is the finding of the way. So this is your potential. Discovering your hidden shamanic potential. You feel new directions begin to, and this is about strength. So it's about, the first step on the path is finding your strength. Initiation are challenges. And we have the in-world. So this is the third circle of worlds. And then number 3 is traveling the inner realms. So this is traveling into your inner realms and what you might need to learn about that. Obviously, we're going to come look at the cards in a minute. I'm just going to get them all laid out first. And then I'm going to come back down here for number 4, which is the guide. Oh, this is my totem. Okay, already loving the deck. Number 4 is the guide. The spiral way is the essential path, which is the sun, energy of the shaper. So the shaper being sort of the primary creator force, and an expression of the shaper is the sun here. I'm going to try to make sure we can get this all in where you can see. The 6th card is the Shaman's Bag. This is a moment of choice and decision. What will we draw, and what effect will this have on the future? And we have the Druid power. And then the very last card of this is number 7, transformation. So how can I, or the issues to be just an I, be transformed? And here we have the vision. This is one of the paths of the shaman, which is the bardic path. This is really amazing, and it's something I will actually spend some time with myself on, really digging into. But let's take a look at it kind of just so as we can see this here. Let me move this up out of the way. Oops, and put those down as well. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So, oh shoot, I should not have closed that. Let me grab a sticky so I can come back to what the positions are. There we go. I know exactly. I have a client that allows me to play with her sometimes in terms of try new things, and I know I'm definitely going to try this out on her. So here we have finding of the way. How do I find my way, and what potential needs to awaken in me? So I know that the stag here is to do with strength. The key word is strength. It represents strength, vitality, and the freedom of the woods. It's a powerful ally to have. It is that idea of representing a sequence of death and rebirth. But I definitely think this is this idea of strength. And it also talks about on the journey to travel with the stag, and he invites you to mount upon his back and ride him through the woodland to the place where he can give knowledge and wisdom. But the path to that knowledge and wisdom is going to be through strength, tapping into my strength. So the potential within me is strength, and that's what I need to tap into as I move forward. Because it's my shamanic potential is that one of strength. The second card is to do with initiation. What challenges will strengthen my shamanic practice? And here we have the third circle, which is the inner world. This is the abode of the ancestors, and one of the prime sources of wisdom and knowledge. The roots of the tree of vision and tradition grow down into this realm, and it is reached by descending into a tunnel and a hole. So this is going. This is about tapping into the ancestors and communicating with the ancestors. And so that working with the ancestors is going to be a challenge to move me forward on my shamanic practice. In terms, if you look at that in general, you know, and if you don't want to take it as a literal shamanic journey, you can look at that as tapping into our roots, tapping into what it is that grounds us, tapping into the knowledge that's passed on and on, that is finding our roots and growing from that place would be the challenge of, then that would be part of the initiation process. So that's beautiful. The third is about what unknown factors await for me. So here we have Lady of the Sacred Earth. So Lady of the Sacred Earth is one of the faces of the Shaper. I do remember that. And this is Rhiannon. And this is about endurance. This expresses all the long-suffering energy of the land. She endures, showing her smiling face again and again. She's that which we all come and to which we will all day return. She can wait and transform all things. So what is this? What unknown factors await me? Is this idea of understanding and learning my own strength and my own endurance, and the idea that no matter what comes up, that you can still smile and you can keep moving forward, and that there is transformation awaiting, which is fantastic. For my guide, can we just say the shivers one gets when one's own guide shows up in the position of guide? That's pretty amazing. So they have this as a keyword of, I'm just kind of go with what the book says, just so you can get a feel for it. This is to do with the crow. This is about prediction. This is about chance. They have this really relating to death. But this is about seeking new directions and getting fresh views of old problems. Expect change of a powerful and lasting kind. So in terms of the guide, what is the nature? Is somebody to walk with me in powerful changes. So if I'm supposed to be tapping into my power and into the roots and the ancestors and moving towards transformation, the crow as a guide, of course, is a perfect guide for that. Following along with that. Now, if you were just going to read this as, again, you would say, okay, you can use that guide metaphorically, right, in understanding that the ability to work with powerful changes is what's going to help to move you along on your journey. So you could read it a little bit more metaphorically that way. Let's keep moving here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the spiral way. What factors will develop the course of my life? And here we have the sun, which is again a face of the shapers. So here we have two, so far we've had 2 totem helpers. We had one of the, circles, 3 realms, the inner realm. We have so far 1, 2 faces of the shaper, one of the positions of the bard, as well as one of the helpers, empowerers is what this deck calls them. So that's a pretty interesting, diverse combination of cards to come up really beautifully. So let's see, let's look at the sun. Sorry, I'm going off task. This is again about beginning. So what was the question here? What factors will develop the course of my life? This is about beginnings. This is like the divine child. He is all the children who have ever lived and who have ever lived and who will ever live. He expresses their joyful freedom and innocence, which, if given full reign, transform everyone whose heart it touches. Yeah. I'm not going any further with that one, but anybody who knows me knows that's crazy. Okay, moving on to the Druid. Moving on. This is what happens. I shouldn't do readings for myself because this always happens. Okay, what question is this? This is the shaman's bag. So what power is going to help me on my journey? And it is magic. The Druid represents the magical power, the power to shapeshift, the power to move unseen, to travel, to produce illusions. This is a wild card, but it is all about the power of magic. And that's what I have in my crane's bag. Apparently. I like it. Lastly is the number 7, transformation. So at the end of the voyage, you come to terms with your inner self. The journey has changed you and you're prepared and sent forth by shapers in a new form to work in the world. How are you going to be transformed and or empowered? And it is the vision singer, which is one of the 3 aspects of the shaman. It is the bardic. I'm pulling it up here. It is the bardic heritage, the power to wield words and to submit to their power. He is the first of 3 aspects of the seeker after knowledge and wisdom of the inner worlds, and the path that he follows is that of the poet, whose intimacy with the creative world is paramount. He can say with Taliesin that he has been everything: tree, stone, flower, animal, bird, and fish. So yeah, that is extremely amazing. The whole thing is, I'm obviously going to sit with this myself for a while, but I have to say for a starter reading, quite impressed, very happy with this purchase. So this has been a look at the Celtic Shaman's Path, or book, I'm sorry, the Celtic Shaman's Pack, P-A-C-K is what it's called, by John Matthews and illustrated by Chesia Potter. And I put the box, here it is, I put the box somewhere. There we go.